Picture this. It's a Tuesday. You're sitting at your desk. Maybe it's lunch break. Maybe you're pretending to be on a call. And your HR manager sends you this email. Subject line: don't forget to enroll in your 401k before the deadline. And you think, okay, yeah, I should probably do that. That's the responsible thing, right? That's what grown-ups do. So you log in, you pick the default fund they set up for you. Because honestly, what even is a target date fund? And you put in like 6% of your paycheck. Done. Retirement sorted. Here's the thing. That moment, that very moment, might be one of the most expensive financial decisions you ever made without realizing it. And I know what you're thinking. But everyone does it. My parents did it. My coworkers do it. The government literally gave it a tax break. Yeah, all of that is true. And none of that makes it a good deal for you specifically. Look, I'm not here to tell you that 401ks are evil. I'm here to tell you that for most working Americans, people making under $150,000 a year, people who don't have a company match, people who have any shot at retiring before 60, the 401k is a product that was built to serve Wall Street first, and you a very, very distant second. And by the time most people figure that out, they've already handed over decades of wealth building potential to a system that was never designed with them in mind. So in this video, we're going to break down exactly how the 401k actually works. All right, so let's start at the beginning. What even is a 401k? On the surface, it sounds great. You put money in before taxes, it grows tax deferred, and you pull it out in retirement. The government basically lets you delay paying taxes on that money. Simple, right? Sounds like a gift. But here's where it gets interesting. And not interesting in a good way. The 401k was never actually designed as a retirement savings vehicle for regular workers. It was a tax loophole created in 1978, originally used by highly paid executives to defer their bonuses. A benefits consultant named Ted Benna found the loophole in 1980 and figured out regular employees could use it too. And then corporate America realized, wait a second, if we shift workers into 401ks, we can get rid of pensions, which are expensive, which are our problem. And suddenly, the retirement risk that used to sit on the company's shoulders got quietly transferred onto yours. Let that sink in for a second. The entire premise of your retirement plan was built on a loophole, scaled up by corporations looking to cut costs, and sold to you as a benefit. That's not me being cynical. That's just the documented history. Now, let's talk about fees, because this is where most people's eyes glaze over, and it's also where most people get absolutely cleaned out without ever knowing it. The average 401k plan charges somewhere between 1% and 1.5% in annual fees. Some plans, especially at smaller companies, charge closer to 2% or even higher. And you're probably sitting there thinking, 1%? That's nothing. But let me show you what 1% actually costs you over time, because the math here is genuinely shocking. Say you have $100,000 in your 401k today. Over 30 years, at a 7% annual return with zero fees, that grows to roughly $761,000. Solid. Now add in a 1.5% fee, which again is completely average. And that same $100,000 over the same 30 years grows to only about $481,000. You just lost $280,000 to fees that you never explicitly agreed to, that were buried in a fund prospectus that nobody reads. According to a study by the Center for American Progress, the average worker will pay around $138,000 in 401k fees over the course of their career. And in high fee plans, that number can climb past $200,000. That's not a rounding error. That's a house. That's a child's education. That's a decade of retirement income. Gone. And here's what makes it worse. The fund managers still get paid whether you make money or not. They get their 1.5% on the total balance every single year, in good markets and bad. You bear all the risk. They collect their fee either way. Sound like a good deal to you? But wait, it gets more complicated. Because the tax structure of the 401k has a problem that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the biggest issue of them all. When you put money into a traditional 401k, you get a tax break today. That feels good. But what you're actually doing is making a promise to the government. A promise that says, I'll pay you later. And later is retirement. When you start pulling that money out, every single dollar is taxed as ordinary income, not capital gains rates, not long-term investment rates. Ordinary income rates, the highest tax category there is. Now here's the gamble baked into that deal. You're betting that your tax rate in retirement will be lower than it is today. And for some people, that's a reasonable bet. But for most people, it's not that simple. Because the government has been running a deficit for decades. Tax rates have nowhere to go but up. And you're sitting on a growing pile of tax-deferred money that the IRS has a legal claim to. And they get to change the rules on what they'll take before you get there. There's also something called required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Once you hit 73, the government forces you to start pulling money out of your 401k, whether you need it or not, because they've been waiting 30 or 40 years for their cut, and they are not going to wait any longer. So even if you don't need the income, you're forced to take it, pay tax on it, and potentially push yourself into a higher bracket, which then affects your Medicare premiums, your Social Security taxation, your everything. Oh, and if you need that money before 59 and a half, 10% penalty on top of the income tax. So your money is essentially locked in a box that you don't fully control, managed by funds charging fees you didn't negotiate, subject to tax rules that could change any time, and you can't touch it for decades without getting penalized. This is the product that your HR department called a benefit. Now, here's what the narrative always misses. The 401k isn't the worst financial tool ever created. For a specific type of person, someone in a very high tax bracket right now, someone whose company matches at least 50 cents on the dollar, someone who is certain their tax rate will be much lower in retirement, it genuinely makes sense. Capture that match. Free money is free money. Nobody's arguing with that. But that profile, that's not most people. Most people don't get a full match. Most people can't predict where tax rates are going. And most people have been told there's no other option, when actually, there are several. And they are significantly better for the average earner. Let's talk about the Roth IRA first. Because if the traditional 401k is a pay taxes later deal, the Roth IRA is the opposite. You pay taxes now on money you've already earned, and then everything that grows inside it is completely tax-free, forever. You pull it out in retirement, tax-free, no RMDs, no forced withdrawals, no IRS waiting at the door in 30 years. Think about what that means in real terms. If you contribute $7,000 a year to a Roth IRA starting at 25 and you get an average 8% return, you'll have roughly $2.5 million by age 65. Every single dollar of that is yours. You've already paid the tax. The government cannot touch it. And you can pass it to your kids, also tax-free. That is not a loophole. That is a legally guaranteed retirement vehicle that the government literally created and most people are not using. Now, yes, there are income limits. In 2024, you can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA if you make more than $161,000 as a single filer or $240,000 as a married couple. But here's a piece of information that feels almost too good to be true. It's called the backdoor Roth IRA. You contribute to a traditional IRA first, then immediately convert it to a Roth. Totally legal, used by high earners all over the country. And almost nobody in the average income conversation knows it exists. Okay, let's talk about HSAs. And yes, I know you're here for retirement advice, not health insurance, but stick with me for 60 seconds because the health savings account is arguably the single most powerful financial vehicle the US tax code offers, and almost nobody treats it like an investment account. Here's what makes it extraordinary. Money goes in pre-tax, it grows tax-free, and if you use it for medical expenses, it comes out completely tax-free. That's triple tax advantage. No other account in existence does that. Your 401k is only one of those things. Your Roth IRA is two of those things. The HSA is all three. And here's the hack that changes everything. You don't have to use your HSA funds for medical expenses right now. You can let that money sit and grow. Invest it in index funds, exactly like a brokerage account, for decades. You save every medical receipt from today forward. Then in retirement, you submit those old receipts and pull out the equivalent amount completely tax-free. Or, once you hit 65, you can withdraw for any reason, just like a traditional IRA, and pay ordinary income tax. It's a retirement account disguised as a health savings account. And in 2024, you can contribute up to $4,150 as an individual or $8,300 as a family. Now, let's talk about the third alternative that most people have never even heard of, the taxable brokerage account. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, isn't that just a regular investment account where I pay taxes on everything? Yes. And it is still better than a bad 401k in almost every measurable way. Here's why. With a taxable brokerage account, you are investing in assets that generate long-term capital gains. And long-term capital gains, for most people making under $47,000 as a single filer or $94,000 as a married couple, are taxed at 0%. Zero. If you're a moderate earner investing intelligently in low turnover index funds, you could be paying no tax on decades of investment growth. Compare that to the 401k, where everything eventually gets hit as ordinary income, which could be 22%, 24%, higher. And suddenly, the tax advantage of the 401k doesn't look so advantageous anymore. Add to that the fact that a taxable brokerage account has zero restrictions on when you can access your money, no mandatory withdrawals, no penalties for early access, and none of the hidden fees that come with most employer-sponsored plans. And you start to wonder why nobody ever says, hey, have you considered just investing in an index fund? Look, I want to be real with you for a second. I know this is a lot. I know it feels like the rules of the game just changed and nobody told you. And honestly, they kind of did. Because the financial products that get marketed to everyday people are not always the ones that serve everyday people best. They're the ones that are easiest for corporations to offer, easiest for Wall Street to profit from, and easiest to sell with a line like, it's a tax advantage. But here's the thing about knowing this. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the window to do something about it is right now. Not next year, not when you make more money, not when things settle down. Right now. Because the most powerful variable in all of investing is not how smart you are, not how much you make. It's it's time. And every month you spend sitting in a high fee fund that you didn't fully understand is a month you can't get back. So here's what I want you to do. First, check your 401k plan's expense ratios today. Log in, find the fund details, look for the number that says expense ratio or annual fee. If it's above 0.5%, you are being overcharged. If your company doesn't offer a match or offers a weak one, you need to ask yourself honestly whether this is the right vehicle for your money. Second, if you're eligible, open a Roth IRA. Max it out before you put extra into your 401k. The $7,000 annual limit feels small, but compounded over 30 years, it is life-changing money. And it's yours, fully and completely, with no hidden claims against it. Third, if you have a high deductible health plan, treat your HSA like a stealth retirement account. Invest it. Don't spend it. Let it compound. You will thank yourself in ways you can't even imagine right now. And fourth, if you've already done those things and you have money left over, open a taxable brokerage account with a low-cost provider. Put it in a broad index fund with an expense ratio under 0.1%, and let the market do what the market does over long periods of time. Simple. Boring. Extraordinarily effective. The wealthy didn't get wealthy by parking everything in the default fund their HR department recommended. They got wealthy by understanding how money actually moves, which vehicles actually serve them, and which rules the financial industry is quietly counting on you not to read. You just read them. Now act on it. If this video helped you, share it with one person who's still on autopilot with their 401k. Because that one person could be sitting on a $200,000 mistake, and they don't even know it yet. See you in the next one.